So, Barbara, how's your work been going lately? And it's been a while since I've seen you. And what have you been working on lately?
You know, what we're especially looking at right now is how physical activity how that is interacting with air pollution, because you know, people that are physically active, specifically the people you talked about that already live in higher exposure areas, if they are physically active, they of course inhale more air pollution due to the physical activity. And we want to look at the question, how much of the beneficial effect of physical activity, and we know that physical activity has a huge beneficial effect on your cardiovascular disease risk and all kinds of diseases, whether that is decreased by air pollution. And specifically we want to know whether we should advise people that live in higher air polluted areas to not be physically active, which is actually something we certainly don't want to do because physical activity is so important. So that's one aspect we're looking at right now.
Yeah, it seems like that's really a big challenge to try to work that out. You know, the benefits of physical activity versus the detrimental effects of more exposure to air pollution. It seems like perhaps even that those people that would benefit most from more exercise could also be more vulnerable to more exposure to air pollution. Is that something that you're also looking at?
Yeah, that's of course possible. And we are specifically also looking at people that already have some prior disease, for example, hypertension, and we want to know whether they benefit from physical activity even if they do it in more polluted areas. From the studies so far, I mean, the studies that we and others have done so far, it seems like it's very clear that the benefit of physical activity outweighs by far the relatively small additional air pollution that you inhale. So, so far I think everybody pretty much recommends to do physical activity.
Well, the communities that I'm working in too, we're trying to encourage people to get out and be more active. We're trying to encourage, you know, walking and biking. But yet we have trucks on the street going by, and people are concerned not only, you know, about the air pollution, but also safety factors regarding having large, you know, vehicles on the street. But we're really trying to promote that by finding bike lanes and other places where people can do what we call active transportation or biking and walking that are away from the trucks and away from the traffic. So I understand there have been some studies like that. We haven't done those ourselves, but that do show that people can really improve the air quality that they personally experience by choosing different routes and modifying their behavior in those ways.
Well, and that of course, I mean, by increasing the physical activity, and I think that's one of the most important messages that we have. I mean, by increasing active transport and physical activity, you of course do something for your own personal risk reduction. I mean, because it's so very beneficial for your personal risk. You reduce air pollution exposure because you're using your bike or you're walking. And also you're of course also producing co-benefits for climate change because you're reducing CO2 production. So I think one of the main messages at the moment should be that increasing physical activity and active transport is a major message that we should deliver.
Yeah, and I think it has to be done at all different levels, from like planning to people's behavior in terms of education, but getting involved with a number of stakeholders, which we're trying to do in the communities where I work in, you know, the city planners as well as local community organizations, and then reaching out to individuals to try to make them more aware, not only of the health effects of air pollution, the detrimental effects, but also of the benefits of physical activity.
Yeah, and you just mentioned it. I think one of the major barriers to do that certainly is structural, because the ways our cities are built, they encourage driving cars. And they certainly, in many cases, many of our cities do not encourage riding a bicycle or walking. So we definitely need to transport or give this message also to urban planners, to city planners, because we really need structural changes to make physical activity more attractive and driving cars less attractive.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're working together for the same goals.